Hello everybody, Eddie hates talking in movie theaters here. Now it's one thing if you're whispering every now and then to a buddy real quiet, or if you got Tourette's or something. You know, depending on the situation, I can let it slide. But when you and your friend are talking full fucking volume, like it's a podcast episode, when sitting next to yours truly, in a theater full of people, boy does my desire to explode and no longer exist permeate. Eddie, why didn't you just tell them to shut up? Look, normally I am that person. I am not scared of telling someone to shut the F up. You're ruining the movie for everyone. Stop it. But I had a feeling, a hunch, a bad vibe, that if I did that, they would go out of their way to be louder, and they were both sitting directly next to me, no space in between, so I did not want to risk that. I just decided I'll take the L, pay attention as best as I can, as annoying as this shit is. Looking back, I should have just moved to the back of the theater where there was empty seats and farther away from the source of the noise, so that's the only fault I can find in my performance. Besides that, I just covered my right ear. The majority of the movie, I was literally sitting there like this, pulling one of these, even a couple of these. Drastic, yes. Obvious, yes. Necessary, yes. Okay, sorry for that. I swear it's relevant. Because that was the bad part of my experience watching my first anime film of 2026, All You Need Is Kill. A film done by Studio 4C and produced by Warner Bros. Japan, distributed by the goated G-Kids. Also, shout out to them because this came out in Japan on January 9th. I saw it on the 16th. You never see anime stuff in the US that close to the original release date unless it's like Shonen Jump or something. So huge W there. It's probably happened in the past as well with other movies that I've seen, but this is my first time really noticing it. But yeah, All You Need Is Kill adapts a 2004 novel of the same name by Hiroshi Sakurazaka. We'll touch more on this later, but this is the third major adaptation of said novel because there is a manga and a live action film. You guys may have heard of it, called Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. I haven't seen any version of the story before, and the anime was my introduction to it, but it's cool that it has such a history. And with that, now it is time to talk about the good part of my experience watching my first anime film of 2026, All You Need Is Kill. It's an hour 25, so not long at all. And if you don't know anything about the story, it's basically Groundhog's Day anime style. We have a main character named Rita who is a volunteer for a defense force because there's plant aliens on the planet. Basically, it's her job to cut the roots of the plant. And one day, all hell breaks loose, everyone's dying, aliens fucking shit up, and Rita is killed. Then she wakes up, realizes her day is repeating, and so on, and so on, and so forth. Shit happens, she meets someone else who's going through the same thing as her. His name is Keiji, and they work together to end the loop and figure stuff out along the way. You like my summary? I don't. But the game's the game. That's the best I got right now. That's the best I can offer. And yeah, I like the premise a lot. It got me hooked. I was locked in. But you know what else had me locked in? Let me tell you. First off, the voice acting. I watched it in Japanese. I'm not sure how the dub sounds, so this is where I will ask you guys to help me in the comments to let me know, because unfortunately, I don't have the time and energy to travel and make a day free again to watch this movie a second time. I had to go cities away because with movies like this, even if they play in your state or your area, they're not always going to be in your neighborhood movie theater, because I live in a small town. It was never going to play. So like I said, I had to make a day out of this, and that's why it was so annoying that those bitches were talking the whole movie, but it is what it is. Water under the bridge now. What I remember more from that day is the movie itself than them yapping. I just thought it'd be a funny way to start the video. But with stuff like this, I would like to see it both in sub and dub, just to not only watch the movie twice, because I think movies are best seen at least twice to really get it, because first time's that introduction, second time is where more of the media literacy skills come in, I feel like, and it's always a good chance to see the dub and the sub. So when time allows, I love to do that, but I just can't justify it right now, unfortunately. So let me know if you've seen the dub, how it is. But Rita's voice actor, A+, bro. I mean, she's most of the movie's dialogue anyways, so not much characters to talk about, I guess, but I love how down to earth her voice sounds and the delivery is. I always love when anime does realistic voices instead of the anime exaggeration, which I'm not opposed to, otherwise I would just never watch anime, right? But it's a nice change of pace every time, and low-key immerses me farther because of how natural it is. It's something we're used to. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just how it feels for me. It just feels like easier to connect to. I'll say that the characters do their thing too, but I just want to mostly glaze Rita. And let's use this as a transition to characters. There's not too many that have a lot of dialogue and screen time, but I'll mostly talk about the main two, because it kind of leads in my overall theme of this review and what I like about the movie. Rita, first off, our main character, which is interesting in this version because I believe in all the other versions of the story, Keiji's the main character, so swapping that to make it the female lead instead, I think is pretty cool, especially with something that we've seen so many versions of the story already. And Rita is a character who keeps to herself, but clearly cares for others and the betterment of the world, and I don't know, she's just a cutie patootie, but she can fight too. so don't fuck with her. And we got Keiji, a smart mofo who's low-key a stalker, half joking. But while their individual characteristics and quirks are nice, I care more about them as a pair in terms of storytelling. They parallel each other quite nicely, and their chemistry is great. Their back and forths, their banter is awesome. They both have terrible backstories that led them to who they are today, and really makes sense looking back on how they acted in the film. But we got Rita's sharp tongue versus Keiji's hope to bring her out of her shell, and that bond is kind of awesome. And we'll definitely talk more about that later, but it's just something that really sticks with me. Now, for a supporter who stuck with me, we have Shasta. I think that's how you say it. It's been a couple days. My mind's already forgetting shit. This is why I like to see things twice. But her enthusiasm for the science research stuff, lots of fun, and she's really helpful, so W. Side character wise, at the start, they are very effective for showing not only the repetition, but also seeing how some of them act around Rita casually versus how they respond to danger, and then maybe seeing them the next day after the repeat and the loop, and just seeing the small differences. It's a lot of little things, but it's nice for giving me a glimpse of how things may have been before the movie, or the moments we don't see in general, just how everyone interacts in this space. Because it's not something the movie stops and thinks about of like, the wider things. It's the very intimate story of Rita and Keiji. Once again, we will talk more about that later, but with how they frame all the extra characters, it gives you some things to think on. But that said, I don't want to go through a million characters that don't get much screen time, because I don't want to waste your time, because this version of the story at least goes from a woman breaking from a loop type of story to a bit of a love story. Whether you think it's platonic or not is up to you, between two people who are doomed to suffer a wicked fate, working together to break out of that and getting closer, opening up to each other. That's the type of movie it becomes. So the movie really focuses on the main two, and once again, the runtime's not crazy already, so other characters, unfortunately, the game's a game, you're not really here. Alright, time for the most important thing. Not actually, but something I'm really fucking hyped to talk about. The eye candy. Animation quality, never worried about it in films most of the time anyways, but still want to talk about how smooth it is. The movement is great, and the fights are so awesome. Not only story-wise, seeing our character get more acclimated to fighting with each loop, with each practice session, with each attempt to break free from the loop, but the impacts of the hits and stuff, the different ways that the different weapons and the suit upgrades move and all the stuff, it was really goated, really goated. And with that, we got the art style as well, while being drastically different from the novel or manga before it, with the real exaggerated features and distinct, vibrant coloring techniques. I think it's also kind of goated. It hits. I don't know. And things get trippy at times too. It's just really peak visual storytelling in my opinion. I'm kind of glazing, but come on, it's good. I'm gonna glaze it. The part that keeps living rent free in my head for this movie is the part I can talk about the least, which is the ending portion. Like climax, lead up, climax, and then the end. So like probably the last 30 minutes I wasn't keeping track. It was a movie theater. I didn't have my phone out. I definitely wasn't talking. So I don't know exactly what portion time-wise, but you know if you've seen the movie. If not, you can just assume it's the end of the movie. I will not spoil it. I think the actual resolution itself, with how fast we get there, is kind of convenient, but it seems more like a pacing and runtime thing as opposed to a situation thing. Because for us, it's an hour 25. For them, it was a bazillion days. And I'm sure the novel has a lot more depth, whether it's the same ending or not. I don't really know. I hear it's somewhat different here, but I don't want to really spoil the novel for myself, so I'm not trying to look too deep into it. Same with the manga and the movie. I would like to experience all of them in my own time and see. So I don't like to do too much research into the differences if I plan to check out the other versions still. And you can only do so much exposition in a film like this. That's clearly show not tell for most of its runtime. So it runs on vibes a lot, and that works for the climax and post-climax still super well. Because when you're watching it, you're not thinking about the logic, you're thinking about the emotion of the specific situation of this final battle moment thing and its potential consequences. I really want to just blurt out everything, but I promise I won't spoil. But I do think more runtime could have only helped, even if they had to change that approach a bit, because I feel like it would be a different type of film inherently. Like, let's say you get more world building and build up of other characters and stuff, and just lots more exposition. It goes from this intimate two-character tale that's told mostly through motion and then personal conversations between those two to something of a bigger scope, something that focuses more on the aliens as opposed to its effect on these two. You see the wider world's reaction, you see all these other things, and like I said, I think it would be fine still. It would probably still retain the meaningfulness of those moments when you focus in on them throughout the film, but it would still be a very different film. I think it would be good. I just have no clue how that would look, because that's not the timeline we live in with that film. But I'm just yapping. And honestly, what they did with that runtime is what matters more. The absolute feeling of dread and hopelessness turned to hope and confining in another later are absolutely felt by the viewer. They really convey it well, even when there's lots of things unexplained. They kind of explain the bare minimum, at least, I guess. And what they do well, they do really well. Now, in the future, I will probably read the manga version first, just because of how short it is. Then read the novel, because I'm sure it's a banger. Then probably watch Edge of Tomorrow last. It's not a movie very high on my priority list, but since I am interested in it for comparison's sake, and seeing the Hollywood interpretation of a manga or Japanese media, because the novel is first, but seeing one that is generally well received and in a strange era for live action adaptations. Remember, this is only a couple years before things like The American Death Note and Ghost in the Shell. So kind of a crazy time. I don't know, it just seems like a fun thing to study more than I care about the actual movie itself. I mean, The Edge of Tomorrow could be good. I'm sure there's things to like, but if it weren't for All You Need Is Kill sparking my interest, I probably would have never put it on the watch list in the first place. Also, with all the other versions, my perception is warped, because like I said earlier, Rita is the main here, and I connected with her so much. I like Keiji, but it's going to be very weird to adjust to seeing things from mainly his point of view, because my interpretation of the story is not that. That's not my thoughts when I think of the story. This movie is so heavily Rita that it's going to be like, but I'm sure it'll still be awesome. And like I said, it's just always fun seeing different authors' interpretations of the same work, because works are a reflection of the person that wrote them at the end of the day, no matter how far removed they try to make it. So yeah, I can't wait. And in short, for my thoughts on this movie, All You Need Is Kill looks good, has an intriguing story that I'm sad we didn't get 3 hours of, and all in all, it's just a ton of fun. I recommend it, worth watching even if you don't end up loving it. You gotta appreciate the attempt of creating a unique take on a story that's been told so many times. But yeah, that's basically the video. What did you think of All You Need Is Kill? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think Tom Cruise should have been in this movie too? Let me know in the comments, and have a wonderful day. Until next time. Peace.